Well, hey guys, welcome back to Waters Family Homestead. Well, making a little bit more progress. I bought the more wire, 20 feet of double aught wire. I've got my terminal connectors on the end, brazed. I crimped them and then I brazed them. Then I put shrink wrap over them. The shrink wrap has glue on the inside to help seal it and make it waterproof, even though it should not ever reach water. And I drilled a new hole through the exterior into the EMP room so I could fit both these wires and not have to go way up high like I had the other one, because that's where the charge controller was, up top. So there's no need for me to run this wire way up there. I'm probably going to install a separate panel box for everything that I want to run on my off-grid. And I don't know that for sure. I may use the outdoor panel for the few things that are left on the grid, such as the dryer, any central heating and air that I may put in down the road, that kind of stuff. Everything else is going to be off this panel box in here. So I'll probably kill the power out there, disconnect this from the outdoor panel, and use the outdoor panel as my grid power, and then this will be my panel to feed the house. But I've got it. I put a shelf up, as y'all can see. I hit studs with the brackets, because this thing weighs almost 80 pounds. So it's got some weight to it. I've got enough slack in the wire once I get it hooked up outside that I should be able to slide this down a little bit, make it easier for me to get to the wire. This gun rack's probably going to come out of here. I never planned for it to stay in there. So I'll probably put the, firearms in the gun safe and get that out of here to give me room to work a little bit more. But one step at a time. I've been showing y'all every step of the way. So I've got the little fridge out of here just because I needed room to work. It'll probably come back once the gun rack is gone. I may even turn my desk around to that back wall, give me a little bit more room in there. So I don't know yet, but let me go show you what I got outside. All right, so everything outside, I'm gonna turn the light on that I showed y'all in the last video. All right, so everything outside is wired as far as the battery banks, the light fixture, the fan, the Stinger LED battery monitor readout, and all four of the charge controllers. Now, I had to move these two I finished them. I know y'all didn't see that last video, but I got them wired up and mounted, and they were side by side. Well, I moved these two up because of the new hole I put to run the big wire through. So they're laying down here. I've got the terminals on the end, brazed on, crimped on, and color coded with the shrink wrap. So all I've got to do is hook that up to this, and that inverter should produce power, but it's not connected to the house yet. It does have a GFI receptacle on it. If I connect this, I should be able to get power out of it. But I don't want it connected until everything's done. I may test it. I don't know that. But remember this heavy duty plug? I've still got to put the fuse link in this line out here. I have not done that yet. I got to put this fuse link in. I've got the other fuse link. So I've still got some stuff to do before I even get to the high voltage wiring. I basically took Friday off from work. We didn't have a lot going on. So I went ahead and knocked off. We waited around the shop for about an hour. Didn't have a lot to do. And I'm like, shoot, I'll just take a vacation day, go home and work on the off-grid. So that's what I've been tinkering on today. I'm not trying to get in a hurry. I want it to work right and be right, not, get it running in 30 minutes. So with that being said, You know, it's getting later in the evening. The sunset is actually in about 5-10 minutes. So I'm maybe 15. So I'm not getting any sunshine. When I got here, I had 13.4 and 13.6 on the digital readout. So I was getting a lot of sun today. It's still a little bit overcast. It's not solid, you know, where there's no blue sky. But that's what's left of a jet mark. But it wasn't full bright sunlight like you would get in, you know, no cloud cover whatsoever. But whatever, still good. The batteries are just sitting there waiting on something to do. So I'm gonna get back to work. I've got it connected inside. Like I say, probably in the near future, I'm gonna shut the main off to the house, disconnect the indoor panel box from the entire grid system, which would be turn the main off inside, not just outside that controls inside box. Turn it off, disconnect the inside panel box, flip that main off, get the wire out, or at least taped up and out of the way, and connect it to the actual inverter. And then once I've got that done, I should be able to run everything off of the off grid. So I've got a little ways left to go, but I just, you know, I've been taking y'all along everything I've done, every step I take. I could zip tie all these wires together and da-da-da-da, but guys, I'm not going to do that right now. And the reason is, if the wire is not large enough, or like this 10-foot run of double aught wire I ran inside, you know, I may end up having to run 2 double aught wires because I can't get anything bigger than that. That's welding cable wire. I may have to run 2 to tote the amperage. And if that's the case, the wires will overheat. And when they overheat, it's going to melt the fuse link and, you know, all that good stuff. And I don't want problems with it. So I'm not going to zip tie and clean it all up until I'm done, so that I know I'm not overloading any single wire or any piece of the system. But anyway, I'll get back to work and record y'all some more when I get a little more done. All right, guys. I've got the double aught wire connected to the first battery, tied all to the rest. The positive comes up from here, runs into my 300 amp fuse link, and then runs inside. So all that's done. Turning off the light. All I've got left to do is get the AC part wired and see how it does. Well, hey guys, welcome back to Waters Family Homestead. All right, that's just a habit. So I'm not going to need this. This actually shows everything. And get the light off. Everything you need to know: your battery voltage, your output, frequency. So this has got that remote wire right there. You can mount it somewhere. You can just walk by and look. It also turns it on and off. It overrides this switch on top. So I've noticed in my testing, I have not wired it to the house yet, but it does have a receptacle. And what I've noticed, I plugged my 1.5 horse shop vac into it. It will not come on and run when I've got it in energy saver mode or power saver mode. And the reason is it's not drawing enough power to make this inverter kick in. So I switch it to power saver off and it runs. So once the house is connected, put it on power saver on, and that way when everything, all the lights are off and the refrigerator isn't running, the freezer isn't running, you know, all that stuff, then it'll not go to sleep, but it will draw less power for monitoring and such. So this white wire here connected is your battery sensing wire. It measures and monitors the temperature of the batteries. So I ran it through, and it says mount it to the side of the battery. So I taped it to the side of the battery. So this will come off. There's no need for it. So all I have to do is push this button and it lights it up. So it's going to be loud, but I'll show y'all. If I plug my and the fans come on the unit. In power saver mode, the fans would only come on when you've got at least a 50% draw on the inverter. So I had to go through and set all the little switches to the proper settings. There's 5 dip switches down here. So I had to set it for what I have. So now what I've got to do is, since I want this to be my panel box, and I've been talking about possibly adding a second panel box. Well, that's if I feed from here. But if I feed from the outdoor panel box, which is straight through this hole here, as my grid power, and then use this as my panel for the output of the inverter, all I'd have to do is turn that main breaker off so that I'm not drawing power from the grid, and it will feed power from here into that panel box and feed the entire house. That's similar to what I had before, and that's what I'm going to do now. So I've got to get my wire together, and I'm going to probably move the dryer, since it's an electric dryer and I don't consider that a vital component. I'm probably going to move the dryer to the outdoor panel. And I've got the well and both outbuildings here at the house and the one on the range all on breakers outside. I'm going to move them to the inside. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but this breaker is empty. This is empty. This is empty. This is empty. And this, and this are all empty. So I've got plenty of empty space here to bring my well power from outside to inside, so it'll feed off the inverter, and my outbuildings from outside to inside. But what I'm going to be doing, like I said, is taking that dryer, which is this one, washing machine, I'm sorry, but taking the dryer power and the washer. I don't know, I'm going to test the washer and see. But anyway, I'm going to hook it all up to the inverter and see if like the dryer is too much for it, then I'll move it to the outdoor panel. You know, that's kind of what it is. If the dryer will run without causing me issues, then I'll feed it through the inverter. But, you know, I've got a welder out there, a small 120 volt welder that I run as well. There's a lot of stuff. So I'm going to get the main house, which is everything in this box, on the inverter, and then I'll come back and show y'all it working. So the difference in what you'll see now will be some wires coming from this panel box to the input of the inverter, which is on this end, and you'll see this main breaker flip to the off position. That way only place you can get power from the inverter. So that's my next thing. I'm going to go out here and show y'all what little bit I've done out here. I'm pretty much done in the battery room. And yes, when I built this on the back of the house, it's not vented into the house. So, all right, turn my light back on. Doesn't matter, but so the batteries are still connected. My 12 volt light up here is still connected. And this digital charge controller will show you the voltage out here coming from the solar panels. And it'll also, if I flip the switch, I've got this one flipped up, shows you the current draw, the amp draw. So I'm drawing 1/4 of an amp just by having the inverter on, which is not very much. So right now we're getting roughly 10.5 to 11 hours of sunshine a day. So it's the perfect time for me to really see if I'm getting enough sunlight to charge the batteries and run the house. If not, it will automatically switch me back to the grid, so I don't have to worry about it going dead during the night and all that good stuff. Once everything's done and working like it's supposed to, I'm going to spray foam the holes where I came through, respray foam that interior place where I had another panel box, and put some sheetrock up. So I'm getting there. All right, guys. That's temporary wires because I did not have what I wanted. I'll be buying some more of that really flexible number 4 gauge wire and run it properly. But it's bigger wire than what's recommended, but that's not going to hurt you. So I've got grid power going into the inverter, and I've got the inverter wired to the panel box through a 50 amp breaker, which is here. And this is the grid power coming in. It goes from the inverter to there. So the number 10 wire is coming in from the grid power. This number 6 is feeding the panel box to everything else. That includes the well, and turn my light off so y'all can see. I'm pulling 25% of what it's capable of doing. Input AC is 247 volts, output is 244, batteries are at 12.5, frequency 60 hertz, output is 25%, and it's running on the inverter. No alarms. So for right now, it's working. I'm fixing to start testing everything. Alright, I'm fixing to test, make sure my well kicks in and comes on. Yeah, a bunch of old filters down here, but I can't see that. My gauge isn't stuck. There we go. Well, just came on, but it flipped. So let me go see what's causing that. Okay, guys, I've told y'all all along I'll show you the good and the bad. So let me turn my light on. It's getting dark on me. I blew one of those fuses when the well tried to come on. So I put my other one in there. I tried it a few more times, and you see it's getting dark enough with it flashing up there. It's telling me that it's not getting enough charge. But I took the well off. So right now the entire house, that building, and the classroom out on the range, chicken pens, dog light, all that, everything's running off of the off-grid. I don't know why my well won't. I'm only running 26% of the inverter, so I haven't figured that part out yet, but can't do without water. The whole purpose of me buying this inverter was true split phase pure sine wave split phase power to run the well. I could run everything else off of the off-grid before. So I'm going to have to dig into that and see what's going on. But everything works, which I can't get to a light switch. There we go. It's all running off of the off-grid. Turn the light back off. So it says I'm drawing 25% of what it can do. Now when the batteries get down weak enough, if they get weak enough during the night, it should switch back to grid power. I'll find out, and I'll finish the video then, and I'm going to do a rundown of what it cost me to get here and what it would cost on today's prices. A lot of things have gotten cheaper. A lot of things have went up, but most of this stuff has gotten cheaper than when I first bought it. So we'll see how it goes then. Well, hey guys. All right, so to wrap this up, it's in charge mode right now, as you can see here. It's charging the battery bank. It says shore power's on. Let me turn this light off. Shore power's on, and the charger on fast charge mode. So it's charging the battery bank, and it's got me running off the grid. So what I've noticed in the last 24 hours of running this is, one, I figured out why I was having some power issues. One was I had one side of the panel box loaded more than the other side. So it was showing I was overloading the inverter, but it's because I have a 120 volt water heater, but it draws quite a bit of amperage. Even though it's 120 volt. So when it kicked in and the well tried to come on, it was drawing more power on that one leg, on one side of the inverter, than than it would normally. So it blew that 300 amp fuse on the DC side, on the battery side. So I moved this is my water heater. I moved it from the first position to second because every other breaker comes from the other side of the bar. So this is on left side, this is on the right side, this is on the left, this is on the right. And this will start right, left, right, left. It's backwards. So your power feeds like that. So I moved my water heater to the other side of the panel box to even the load out some. So most of the house, and the lights and the refrigerators, all the little stuff I run, that stuff only draws 3 to 4 amps, y'all. It don't draw a lot. But combined with the water heater and then the well tried to come on, it was too much all at once. So I moved the water heater to the other side. I did take the well off. That's temporary. It's been raining, like sideways rain all day. So I haven't been able to get out there and do anything, but I do want to try my well again. I'm gonna reconnect the wires outside and run it in and tie it in here to where I've got an even load, and turn off the water heater, make sure the dishwasher is not running, the washing machine is not running. So the only thing that I don't have on my off-grid power right now is my clothes dryer, which you can probably hear running in the background. The washing machine is on my off-grid. It did fantastic with it. My old modified sine wave power inverter would not run my washing machine. It surged too high. This one didn't even blink about it. So I know it's a better inverter, but I didn't even think ahead of time that I needed to even the load out in my panel box. As far as when things are running like now, lights and refrigerator and all that. I've got the entire kitchen, basically all the receptacles in the kitchen except for the dishwasher, on one circuit. Well, the stove's on a separate circuit, but all the receptacles and the lights are on one circuit. So if I'm running the tea maker, which draws a lot of power, y'all, I didn't realize that. I make a lot of tea. And running the microwave at the same time, I can tell it. This thing, the fan will kick on, it'll kick in the high gears, I call it. But see, the fan's coming on now. It's still running on on grid power while it's charging the bank. So the fan will come on and keep all the charging components cool and stuff. So it's doing the job it's supposed to do. And I've got more power than I need other than the big equipment. I've got to balance that load. So when I get better weather, my dryer vent's blowing by the door here like, what? When I get better weather and it's not raining, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to replace this number 10 wire, which is my grid power coming in from the outside box into the inverter. And then it leaves the inverter on these number 6 to this breaker. So I used to run off a 30 amp double breaker. Now I'm running off a 50. So I don't have to worry about the breaker tripping because I know the whole house will run on 30. I've done it for the last couple of years. And I know this is a little more than the average person can jump into, but I built the house and I wired the panel box, and I've redone this thing several times by adding a box over here, and that's why it's a little bit messy. But when you get down to it, all the wires are ran where they're supposed to be. The main is still in the off position, and I put my tape on there so nobody will reach up and try to flip it on. Now, safety wise, I'll probably, once I know I'm 100% off and don't need to go back to that, I'll probably kill power and disconnect those main inputs up here and seal them off, tape them up good so they can't ground out or anything, and then that breaker won't be used. So basically, instead of my power from the inverter going into this 50, it could go into the main breaker up here and feed the whole panel as normal. But that's not something I need to do right now to test out and see what all I need to do to my off-grid system. So it is working. It's doing everything I want it to do except for the well. I really don't care about running the dryer on my off-grid, because if crap hits the fan, I can put up a clothesline. We hung clothes up when we were young. It ain't gonna kill us to do it again, and I don't have to worry about producing that kind of power, because that takes a lot. So the only thing I got left to do is test to see if I can even the load in the panel box, which I've done some, and get that well to actually run. And if the well will run off my off-grid power, then I will, I still have to be choosy as what I'm running at one time. I don't want to be running the washing machine, the dishwasher, the heaters, everything when the well tries to come on and run. So you need the water when the washing machine is running, so I can't avoid that. But I can avoid running the dishwasher while I'm doing laundry. I can avoid running the bigger heaters when I'm not doing the laundry, or when I'm doing the laundry. So you're just going to have to learn to manage your power consumption to not all at one time. And that's not easy for me, because I like to just get in and start it all and knock it out. But anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up here for video number 2. I will do another video once I get the wire to replace all this and to run it properly, and once I've tested the well and all of that. And I'll do another video, which will be the 3rd one in this series. And I understand it's a little overwhelming for people that don't know electrical, but it's not that complicated. It does take some patience and some time. You just can't get in a hurry with it. But hey, you've got to do what you got to do if you want to get off the grid and supply your own power. So I can tell you right now, I'm going to need more batteries, because in 24 hours, this thing has had to charge my battery bank up about 4 times, I think. And that's with me doing laundry and dishes and the heater running and all that stuff. So that tells me I don't have enough batteries to get me through 12 hours, which is what I want. If I can go 12 hours without having to recharge the batteries, then I can go all night and wait on sunlight. So that's the goal. I am going to have to get more batteries. I've got 5. I may end up with 5 more, which will be fine. If I can, run longer off my solar charge. So I've told y'all in the past, if I add more batteries and I get more batteries than my solar can charge, then I got to add more solar. So I'm learning as I go, just like a lot of you are. I hope some of you are learning from what I'm doing and mistakes and what not to do, because I tell you, I've wasted a lot of money. And in today's Bidenomics, in today's pricing, copper wire has went through the roof, y'all. I have spent well over $500 in the last month and a half on wire, which, whether it's the double aught wire or the number 4 wire, the couplings that go on the end of the wires, shrink wrap. It's not just time consuming, it adds up quick to a lot of money. So I'm still thinking one day I may end up getting an even bigger inverter, but when you're sticking with 12 volts and not going up to 24, 48 and so on, you're limited on how big an inverter you can get. At the time, this was the biggest one I could find. I know they make a 6000 that is 12 volt, but if I go up another 50% bigger into 6000 from this 4, I'm going to need to run 2 of them double aught wires from the batteries to the inverter for each leg, for 2 hots, 2 negatives, to help tote that load, because I can't get a wire big enough to handle that. So, and I did order some more fuses for it. I ordered the 500 amp fuses. It's the DC fuses, but anyway, I will come back and give y'all an update on that. I know this video's long, I apologize, but there's just so many questions that run through my head that people would want to know, and I try to answer those that I can. But anyway, I've got to get, when I get the wire, I've got to get it all ran and hidden so I can put the cover back on the panel box and spray foam this because the rest of my house is spray foamed. You can actually see it in here. So I've got a lot left to do, and I need to finish the sheetrock on that wall. I'm thinking about moving the shelf from there to this wall once I put the sheetrock up, because it'll face the wires coming from the battery bank, and then all I need is longer wires for the AC output. So that's kind of what I'm leaning toward. But either way, guys, I appreciate y'all watching, following along in this little series. There will be a third video to end this thing out, to show you what all it's done. I don't know how soon that'll be. It may be a week or 2 or 3 before I can get the wire that I need to make it all pretty and all that stuff. But I'm going to continue testing this system out before I put any more into it. Make sure it all works the way I want it to. So anyway, if this inverter won't run my well, I'll end up getting me one that will. And that's not going to be something I can do in just a few days. These things aren't cheap. This one cost me a little over $1,000 with the shipping and all. And the bigger one's going to cost even more than that. You're looking at $1,500, $1,600. So anyway, thank y'all. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. It really helps us break that algorithm and get us out there and grow the channel. So I appreciate y'all. Remember what I always tell you. Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe. Be prepared.